If any of you have ever visited India, you've definitely experienced this. Your car has stopped at the traffic light, and within a few seconds, it is surrounded by these little children, covered in dust, but their eyes sparkling as they try and charm you to empty your wallet. It sounds horrible to say, but we who live in India have become so desensitized to this, as it has become a regular feature in our daily landscape. I was a successful fashion designer, always balancing my time between my work and my family. My car journeys were mainly focused on getting to and from work quickly. And I'd usually be on the phone, making notes of things that needed to get done. The little children tapping on my window were just an irritant. And I'd roll my eyes as a chauffeur would shoo them away. I looked at them covered in filth, with their matted hair and crusted lips. But I guess I never really saw them. I remember this day, back in 2004. I noticed this little girl. She had a sleep-induced baby in her arms to evoke more sympathy so she could get more money while begging. She waved at me as though she knew me and smiled with such innocence that I couldn't help but smile back. Something stirred. Something happened that day. It was really sad to see her this way, but in the following days, I began to notice children rather than beggars, humans rather than pests on my car window. As a well-meaning and sensitive person, I would offer these children some money as they would come and greet me. I drew solace and satisfaction that today they wouldn't go hungry. They would be really excited at the sight of me because they knew I would give them some donation. Slowly, it dawned on me that while my intention may have been noble, the reality was that each time I gave them money, all I was doing was making them beggars for life. I couldn't help but think, what if it was my children that were born in this environment? As much as I wanted to help them, I didn't know what to do. I felt sure there was something more that I could do, but never quite knew what or how. Feeling sad was so easy. What could I really do? And then one day, without thinking too hard, without applying myself, with no planned agenda, just a strong urge to help, to do something, anything, I put a few of these kids in my car and got them to my backyard, where we shampooed, scrubbed, and showered them with a garden hose. I put on some Bollywood music, and they sang and danced to songs that they had heard through car windows. It was such a joy to see them laugh and have a good time. They had a blast, and I had a blast watching them have a blast. It was probably their first wash in months. But as I dropped them back that evening to the streets, it dawned on me that after all the fun, they were going back to the same filthy scenario. Nothing had really changed. All I had done that day was to create a bubble in their lives. I mean, it was as if the day was like a trailer to the movie of life. I was deeply disturbed by this realization that this was it, that they would now go back to living and begging on the streets like the way they had been doing since the time they were born. So what was the purpose of my day? I felt absolutely helpless and powerless. That's when I decided, really decided, that I was not going to stop here, that just this could not be the end, that I was going to do something more substantial. So I just put my best foot forward, and it changed my life. I was committed to one thing, and one thing alone, that it was time to stand up. I mean, if you think about it, I'm not a certified healthcare professional, nor was I a qualified educator. So what was I? How was I different? And I realized what it was. Very simply, it was the fact that I cared. Moving forward, I started to stop my car each day to interact with these children, to see what else help I could provide them with. Bribing them with the promise of some candy and biscuits, I got them to listen to me explain the alphabets in English. Very quickly, I realized learning English was of no real use to them. So I just sat and started a conversation, asking them to tell me about themselves. Simply put, I started hearing their stories. To know that Ramjani, a 12-year-old boy, is hit by a speeding car and is battling to save his leg. Or to hear of 5-year-old Rubina, who has been sexually assaulted by a member of her own extended family. And to remain sane in the given circumstances, rather than scream and shout, asking yourself, why? Why would somebody do such a thing to an innocent child? All stories, while different, had a few common elements: aggression, physical abuse, and survival. That's what it was all about, survival. Now, please remember, I'm talking about 5, 7-year-old children. And to hear a child speak in his or her way, her innocent way, about survival can be extremely frightening and of deep concern. I discovered it was the parents who would force their children to beg. They would use their children as a primary source of their livelihood. Earning targets are set, and if not met, the children are beaten. They even refuse to give them food. Most often, the parents are alcoholics or drug addicts. One child that stands in my mind always is little Tasleem. He'd eagerly wait for me at the traffic signal with a flower or a paper boat that he had made himself. He'd be full of stories and really excited every time we'd meet. My heart melted the day he asked me to buy him a school bag and send him to school, just like the kids he'd seen every morning in their school bus on their way to school. He wanted to be like them too. So after many sessions of counseling his mother, persuading her, Tasleem started attending regular school. He'd go to school in the mornings and be put back on the streets by his mother to beg in the evenings. He was very shy to beg after he had started school, for the fear that his friends would find out the truth about him and his beggar status. But he'd do so for the fear of invoking the wrath of his parents. Unfortunately, one day, a donor gave him the equivalent of £5, which is enough money to buy his family of 4 food for the next 2 days. And his mother refused to send him to school, greedy for such a donation again. It broke my heart to see Tasleem be refused the opportunity to attend school. Working at the traffic signal was very challenging. I needed to introduce the concept of hygiene to the kids. We needed to bathe the kids. Moreover, the kids were always hungry. The weather was too hot or too cold, not to mention the dust and the noise from the vehicles. So I decided to rent a room with a toilet and a kitchen. Here I was able to bathe the kids and feed them a hot, nutritious meal before settling down to teaching them. Each time I interacted with the children, it came crashing back to me with a bigger realization that all these kids needed and wanted was just loving attention. Their little world lacked the basic ingredient to live life, love. They were impoverished for love and kindness. So making that my focal point, I started doing activities with the children: yoga, dancing, singing, arts, craft, but always keeping in mind that loving attention needed to supersede everything. Every day, as the kids enter the center, I give them a hug, a real hug, a warm, loving, compassionate hug, just like the one I get from my mom, and just like the one I give my own 2 boys. We call it the Jadoo Ki Jappi, the magical hug. As the kids enter the center, as the session begins, we greet each other with a "I love you, children," to which they all reply, "We love you, Didi." Didi means sister in Hindi. To recreate a normal childhood, we let the kids choose the day that they can celebrate their birthday, since no one cared enough to mark the day on which they were born. We give them the opportunity to celebrate that day, which all of us so cherish in our own lives. The day to make a wish, to blow candles, to cut a cake, and just feel super special. The mother in me had taken over. The love and attention we give these children has had a palpable impact on them. They have blossomed. They have an inexplicable joy and laugh freely. Slowly, we have succeeded in helping them replace bad habits like sniffing glue, chewing tobacco, smoking marijuana, with good ones like brushing their teeth, washing themselves regularly, and staying away from all substance abuse. They have this joy on their face. They work and study hard to be accepted into mainstream school. And we reward them with trips to the movies and the water park. The love and joy is fulfilling and has resulted in the birth of Spread a Smile India, a happy place full of love, empowering the children for a better and a secure future. While the story of Spread a Smile India may seem magical, let me tell you, there have been lots of difficult moments in my journey. When I started working with the children, the parents were threatened that I would stop their income as I was weaning their children away from begging. They didn't want to send the children to school. They didn't want to send the children to me. They just were very, very threatened. I realized by counseling the parents, that was the only way I could get the children enrolled in school. But enrolling the children in school doesn't change them or their personalities overnight. I constantly receive complaints from the principal, reporting cases of stealing, abusing, and fighting with other children. After a lot of work and constant struggle, it's extremely heartbreaking when I lose one of my children back to the streets again because of his mental conditioning. Moments like this make me question myself whether all this is even worth it. And then I'm reminded of the time I was able to save Ramjani's leg from being amputated, or help Taslim in fulfilling his dreams to attend school, or when I hear of Rubina save herself from being sexually assaulted by following the instructions of what to do in such a situation, or when I hear of any of my children excelling in school, getting a job, and providing for their family, I know it's all been worth it. When I was invited to be a TEDx speaker, I thought to myself, what did I really want to accomplish with this talk? Did I want to tell people about my journey and highlight my personal accomplishments? And then I realized I could further my cause by using this platform as an opportunity to plant a seed in the hearts of my audience and to motivate you to take that initiative to help someone. It's worth it. When I look back on my journey, the one thing that really stands out in my mind is my getting started was the biggest hurdle I crossed. The truth is that though it was an imaginary one, it was deeply rooted in my mind. And I'd encourage all of you, the next time you feel a sense of empathy towards suffering of any kind, human, animal, whatever, just take that first step and do that little thing you can to help. It's going to make the world of a difference. Just take that step. It doesn't have to be a huge step, and the solution doesn't even have to be complete. But just take that step, however small it is. And who knows, with the passage of time, your little effort may have a far-reaching impact on many lives. I urge you all not to look at the poverty line as a statistic, but to associate it with a face, a person, a life, and you will soon realize how easy it is to spread a smile. Thank you.